welcome back to Minnie in the Mountains. I've got a special one for you today. Not only is it a brand new pattern, but it's brand new exclusive hardware. And both of them come to us from Joleelee Creations. I'm talking about the My Favorite Wristlet pattern and this new wristlet hardware. Yeah, if you hate making wristlet straps, you know, the one where you sew the short ends together and then have to like sew in the round and go over that silly bump from the seam where you sewed them together. If you hate that, you're gonna need these. These are a total game changer. Making wristlet straps was the main reason why I stayed away from wristlets for such a long time, or didn't really enjoy it at least. Now I do. It goes so fast. So we'll go over how to work this hardware in the video. It's very easy. You're gonna love it. You need to grab all of the finishes and all the sizes, 1 inch and 3/4 inch. Now let's talk about the My Favorite Wristlet pattern, because it really is my favorite wristlet. It has this beautiful classic two-tone design. Of course, you don't have to do it two-tone. You can keep the whole front panel, and I tell you in the pattern or in the video how to do it that way. Totally doable. But it's got this, and it comes in the pattern with one D-ring, where you add a D-ring tab. In the video, I'm going to show you how to do this, where you can have a double D-ring so that you can have your wristlet strap on either side, or you can take, isn't that cool? You could take the wristlet strap off and you can attach a crossbody strap, a nice pretty chain. Let's just pretend that it's the same finish, okay? Just let's be in the same delusional world. Again, this is not in the pattern, but I show you how to adapt it if you want to try it. I also do walk you through how to do the D-rings. When we open up this cute little wristlet, it's just got a nice roomy interior with one slip pocket, and you can add a fun tag, also from Joleelee Creations on the website right now. It's very simple, but you can do so many things with this wristlet. Like, you can applique the bejesus out of it. You can add card slots to it. The card slots are not in the pattern, but I followed a YouTube tutorial from So Sweetness. I will link it down below. It's very easy and it works perfect for this. Or you can leave off D-rings completely and just make a pouch. I made this out of neoprene that's coming from Soulful Therapy, and I bound the inside. There are so many things that you can do with this wristlet, like these over here. I made these before and they flew. I do not have them anymore. These are going to be great for the upcoming holiday market season. They're quick to make, they're classic, they're beautiful. I love it. Let's talk about everything that I used. I used vinyl. Both of these vinyls are from Tulip Bee. The inside, this beige, it is Smoothie Smooth, also from Tulip Bee. And this pink leopard print nylon that just steals my heart every single time is from Wondergram Fabrics, and I love it. This little accent is Lumi Gloss from Insall Creation, and like I said, the tag is also from Joleelee Creations. And of course, the star of the show, the wristlet strap hardware from Joleelee Creations. Go check out their shop because there's so many good things, like my favorite machine magnet. His name is Dave, and he's hanging by a thread. I digress. A big thank you to Joleelee Creations for allowing me to film this video and for the amazing job on your new hardware. It's a game changer. It's gonna take over this community, and I'm here for it. If at any point you find this video helpful, you like my content, please consider giving a thumbs up. Any questions, comments, shout outs, you just wanna say hi, that's cool, say hi. I'll say hi back. I do read every single comment. Drop them down below. And if you feel so inclined, please hit that subscribe button. It means the world to me and helps the channel a ton. Now go raid your fabric stash. Print out the pattern. Grab the templates too. Also at Joleelee Creations, your cart's gonna be full. Cut out all your pieces, buckle up, and meet me at the machine. Okay, let's start with getting our wristlet strap made and out of the way, so when we're done we can just clip it onto our bag and be completely done. In the pattern she does have how to make a traditional wristlet strap, but Joleelee Creations just came out with brand new wristlet strap hardware, so I'm going to show you how to use that today. It swivels. You don't need to like sew the ends together and then sew your wristlet strap in around and then go over that seam. It eliminates all of that, and it's so much prettier looking, right? Yeah, so we're gonna use this today. So grab your piece of fabric for your wristlet strap and then mark a line down the center of the whole length. And then I'm gonna use some double stick tape and put it right over that center line. Now remove the paper backing from the tape. And then we're gonna fold those long edges into that center line, leaving a very slight gap. So not all the way to that line, just leave a little sliver. All right, so you can see, hopefully, that there's a little sliver of a gap in between there. Both long edges folded, and now we're going to fold them again so that our folded edges meet up. And throw some clips on there to hold it in place. Okay, once we have them clipped, we're gonna take this to the sewing machine and we're gonna stitch down both long edges at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Use the top stitch length. I'm going to be using a 5. Once you have both long edges top stitch, go ahead, and if you have a right side or a wrong side or a prettier side or whatever you want to be facing out, make sure you bring the wrong sides or the back sides together. So meet up those short edges here, and we're just gonna baste that in place. Short edges are basted. Now we're gonna grab our hardware piece, and I should have mentioned these are in, this one is a 1 inch wide. Joleelee Creations offers them also in 3/4 inches. So whatever you're doing, just make sure that your strap matches your hardware, okay? So I'm going to take this top portion, and you have some tiny screws here. I'm going to actually move the screws so that I don't lose them. I'm going to take some Beacon 3-in-1 glue, and I'm going to squirt it in there. Is this necessary? No. But anytime I'm working with hardware, I kind of like to secure it a little more. So now just take your hardware and stick your strap inside all the way down. Flip it to where the holes are, and then take an owl or a stiletto and pre-punch those holes. So just stick it through until you feel it hit the backside of the hardware. And now take one of your tiny screws and a screwdriver. Just make sure that the screwdriver has a small enough tip, because these screws do strip easily. That's all hardware screws, I feel. These tiny ones, I like to strip. So just make sure your head is small enough. I know Joleelee Creations is also carrying screwdrivers that have a nice tiny little tip. That's what she said, for these screws. So go ahead and just insert the screw, apply pressure without stripping. And we're gonna do that for both of them. All right. Wasn't that so much easier than making a wristlet strap? I hate making wristlet straps. This little piece of hardware, I'm telling you, it's a game changer. If you make wristlet straps a lot, you need to go check out her site and grab some because it makes it so much easier. Okay, strap is done. Let's put that to the side and grab our main panel pieces. Okay, grabbing your main panel pieces, you should have 2 top pieces and 2 bottom pieces. Find the centers on the tops and bottoms of both, and let's put one set aside for right now and just focus on one. So I'm going to add some double stick tape because of course I am. I'm going to add some double stick tape to this top portion of the bottom panel all the way across, and then also to the bottom portion of my top panel. So if you have a directional print, we're going to be focusing on the bottom portion of your top. You don't need it on both of them. Sorry guys. You only need, if you're using double stick tape, you only need it on one of these strips. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the tape from the bottom panel. And since I put it on this one, I'm gonna remove that backing as well. Again, you don't need both. So with this, the bottom panel facing right side up, take your top panel and flip it right side down onto the bottom panel and match the midpoints all the way down that length. Now down that edge where we just put double stick tape, or double stick tape, we are going to stitch at a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down, back stitch in the beginning and the end, and go back to your construction length, which for me is a 4. Taking that bottom panel, I'm going to press it away from that top panel. If you're using a material that you can press, go ahead and take it to the iron. I'm just gonna finger press it. Now on the bottom panel, make sure that your seam allowance is facing the bottom panel. On the bottom panel, we are going to top stitch across this line at an 1/8 inch seam allowance. I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end and use a 5 stitch length. Beautifully top stitched, and as you can see, our seam is facing the bottom. Now we need to repeat those steps for our other main panel pieces. Okay, our main panels are all prepped. I should mention, if you're wanting to just have a solid main panel, just use the lining piece, the pattern piece for the lining, and then you won't have to have the two-tone. I really like the two-tone though for this one, especially with these colors. If you're using a tag, a nameplate or something, there are placement marks in the top pattern piece for placement that would center it just like that. So you can go ahead and install that if you would like. However, I like to kind of offset mine. So I'll do it on the top main panel, and I go about 1 inch in from the side. And then for my metal bag tags, I just kind of open up the prongs like so and kind of line it up and press down. Then I'll make some indents. And then I can take my washer and line up those marks since they're slightly off. Make them a little bit more neat. Mark that placement. Also, in the pattern, these two pieces do not have interfacing on them unless you're using a woven. Then you should have SF101 or how it is in the pattern. Since I'm using vinyl, I did add a layer of fleece out of my seams. I just like how it bulks it up. So, just so you know. Now go ahead and cut your slits if you're using a metal bag tag. If not, if you're using a sew-in, go ahead and sew that down. So I'm using hardware. I am going to add some glue right over those marks and a little outside. And then take your tag, stick the prongs through, and then I do have a piece of Decaville Light as well, and washer, clamp it down. And then if you are using a metal tag, make sure to cover it somehow, either with another piece of stabilizer, or I just use duct tape. That's going to protect your lining. All right, flip it over, and our tag is installed. I love that placement. I don't know why. Okay, we can put both of our main panels to the side for a second. We're gonna go ahead and prep our D-ring tabs. So grab your D-ring tab, cut your D-ring. This is a 3/4 inch D-ring, so this is cut as in the pattern. And then I also have some double stick tape. I'm just gonna walk you through how to get this prepped, and then when we get to the step, I will show you where to install it. But for the rest of the video, I'm actually gonna show you how to do this type of D-ring connector, where I'm using two, and the point of that is you can put your wristlet strap then on either side, or if you want, you can have this as a small little crossbody by adding a chain or what have you. It's just a little bit, adds a little more diversity to it. So on the back of our D-ring connector, draw a line down the center just like we did our wristlet strap, and add some double stick tape right on top of that line. Go ahead and remove the paper and fold those long edges to the line. This time we can go directly up to the line. Don't leave a space. Just butt those edges right up together. Okay, now we're gonna go to the sewing machine and we're going to top stitch down both these long edges at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end and use a 5 stitch length. All right, once we hit that top stitch, go ahead and slip your D-ring on. And I'm gonna add some 1/4 inch wide double stick tape, or you could baste, but I'm gonna add some double stick tape just to one of the short edges. And then take the short edges wrong side together so you're looking at the seam, and bring those short sides together like so. And then, like I said, if you didn't use double stick tape, you can go ahead and take that to the machine and just baste over that edge. Or if you use double stick tape, just put a clip on there, and you can put that to the side until we get to the part where we have to install the D-ring. Let's move on to how I do that back double D-ring situation. Okay, so if you're gonna do the double D-ring wristlet crossbody convertible type of deal, you're gonna need your back panel, so the one without your label, and also a strip of vinyl You can use other stuff too, but then the cut, you're gonna need a different size cut, and I haven't figured that out. So if you're using vinyl, I cut mine to 1.5 inches by 10 inches. It is longer than your back piece. That's okay. So put the back panel off to the side for a second and your D-rings, and take your strip, draw a line down the center, and then add some double stick tape over that line. Remove the paper, just like before, and fold those long edges right up to that center marking. We can again butt them right up next to each other, don't leave a gap. Now on the right side, grab a ruler and a marking pen and measure in from one of the short edges 1.5 inches and mark a line. Do that on the other side as well. And now we're going to take this to the machine, and we are going to stitch on both of these sides from one end across at 1/8 of an inch, go directly over that line, and then back down at 1/8 of an inch. I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end, and then do the same for this side. Up only to that line, down on that line, and then back across 1/8 of an inch at a top stitch length. Okay, so now we just have the 2 rectangles on either side stitched. That's what we want. Get rid of those marks that you made, and then grab your ruler again and measure from one of the short edges. Since this is a 10-inch strip, I'm gonna measure 5 inches in and make a mark. That's gonna give us our center point. Flip this over to the wrong side and take some, you guessed it, double stick tape. I'm using 1/4 inch wide, and put it down just between those rectangle boxes that we stitched. All right, now take your back panel, and we are going to measure down 1 inch from the top. Okay, and I like to find a mark that matches up with the center. Now remove the paper from the tape on your strip and match up that center mark that we made on our D-ring strip and press it down against the ruler. And now we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch where we left off on this horizontal line. We're going to go down at 1/8 of an inch to that hole, try to get right in the hole, and then we're going to stitch right over this vertical line here that we stitched, come back down and then back over. Leave your tails long and tie them off to the back. That's going to secure this down. Okay, so we have it secured. I'm going to flip it over, and like I said, we're going to tie them. So I'm just going to pull that top thread out and then tie opposing threads together. I guess it would be a pair because it's the one that pulls it up. Okay, now going back to the right side, we're going to take our D-rings and we're going to slip one on like so, and then keep that side straight. There is going to be overhang, that's fine. We're going to trim it off. It's better to have it longer in case your hardware is thicker. So I'm going to put a clip right there and then go over to the other side, slip our D-ring on, make sure it's still straight, and then clip. And then we're going to just baste down the sides here on either side at 1/8 of an inch. Alrighty, baste it on. That's pretty much it. Now you just need to trim off if you have excess. Just follow that line from the main or the back main panel. Trim it up. And there you go. We have enough clearance so that when we go and stitch this together, these D-rings will not get in the way. Just make sure that they are facing inwards. You can also add a rivet right on the inside of the stitching here at like 1/4 of an inch if you would like. For this one, I think I'm gonna skip it. Yeah, I think we're good. I'm gonna skip it. All right. Remember, if you are doing the D-ring in the pattern, we will put that on where it says in the pattern. Let's move on. All right, let's get our zipper prepped. So we have our zipper cut. Mine is 9 inch. You're gonna need at least an 8 or 8.5 inch cut. We will trim it down to where we need it. And then you're gonna need a zipper tab and a zipper pull. Let's put our pull on to our zipper tape. Now, just so you know, I am doing this kind of reversed from how it is in the pattern. It's just the way that I like to do my zippers. So it's gonna give you the same result, and I'm just kind of flipping it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start with my tab. I put some double stick tape on one of the edges here. It just helps keep it from shifting. And I'm gonna put the tab, this is the side where my zipper is closing to. This is the side that will always remain closed. So on the right hand side where it will remain closed, I'm gonna take my tab and put it right side down along the edge of my zipper tape. Now on that side, we are going to stitch at a 1/4 inch seam allowance back stitch at the beginning and the end. And then take the tab and flip it up and then wrap it around the end of your zipper tape. And add some clips. So this is how it should look right now. Now we're going to stitch at 1/8 of an inch away from this folded edge, or in the pattern it has you do a 1/4 inch from this side. Whatever makes you feel more comfortable, it's the exact same thing. I did back stitch at the beginning and the end there. Then we just need to flip this over, and you can trim away any excess that you have just to like 1/8 of an inch away from those stitches. And then since it is vinyl, I do like to hit that with a lighter just to seal it in. Now, working with this end, the opposite end of the zipper tab. From the end of the zipper tab over here, line that end up with the 7.5 inch mark on your ruler. And then come down to this end and make a little mark in the seam allowance. Line up the end of the zipper tab here with the 7.5 inch mark. Come down to the other end and make a mark. Now on that same side, open up your zipper, only up to your pull, and then where that mark is, pinch where that mark is. Your zipper tape is naturally going to want to fold outward and create a 90-degree turn. And then you can either take that to the sewing machine and put some basting stitches right in there on the end of the zipper tape. I never have luck with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my zipper tape down so that it's even with that side. And then I'm going to take a lighter carefully going to melt the edges and press it together. If you do this way, just make sure you don't burn yourself. And that will keep it in place. Go ahead and do the same for the other side. Pinch where that mark is. It's gonna wanna fold, make that 90 degree. Either baste right along the edge there, or cut the tape to make it even and light her up. All right, now our zipper is prepped. On top of that, I do also like to find the center. You don't need to, but I do like to make a little snip into the zipper tape. On both sides. And then since we cut the tape, use a lighter in those little triangles so it doesn't fray. All right, now our zipper is prepped. We can put that to the side. Grab your front and back main panel pieces, and on both of them, from the side edges, make a mark that is 3/4 of an inch in. Just a little mark in the seam allowance, 3/4 of an inch. Do that on front and back. Now let's just focus on our front panel for right now. So in between those marks, add some 1/8 inch wide double stick tape if you have it. If not, that's okay. Just hold on a second and I'll show you what we're gonna do. And then remove the paper backing of the tape and take our completed zipper, and we're going to put it right side together. I like my zipper pull closing to the left, so just think about that. But we're going to put it zipper teeth right side down against this panel. Since I have my center points, I'm going to match up the center points and bring it down, and the ends should match up pretty well with the marks that we made. If you're a little off, that's okay. If you're a lot off, it's going to interfere with our seam here. So I'm going to press that down since I have the tape. If you don't have the tape, go ahead and baste your zipper onto the front panel at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Time out. I'm getting ahead of myself. Calm your jets. We need to get the slip pocket prepared and onto our lining. Let's do that. It's okay that your zipper is on the front main panel. It's not gonna hurt anything. Just let it sit for a little bit. Let it be in a timeout for letting us forget what we're doing. Grab one of your lining pieces, grab your slip pocket piece, your trim, and if you are adding a fun tag, which of course I am, let's put our lining piece to the side and take our slip pocket piece and fold it short sides, right sides together, and match up the corners and the sides. Okay, now we're gonna go to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch the short sides only at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, back stitch at the beginning and the end. Do not sew that top portion. Sides are sewn on these bottom corners. Take your scissors and just trim off that end, making sure not to hit your stitches. Okay, now we just need to flip this right side out, if you can get your fingers in there. Flip it right side out and take a turning tool and really pop out those corners. Roll the sides. If you have material that you can press, go ahead and do that. Since this is nylon, it's not gonna hold the press. And then I'm just gonna clip along the top. Now we can take this to the machine and baste at 1/8 of an inch away from the top edge. Okay, so this is what our pocket should look like. Whichever one you want it to be the outside. If you have a directional print, make sure that's the outside. The other will be the inside of the pocket. Okay, now grab our trim piece and mark a line 1/2 of an inch up from one of the long edges. You'll notice that one side is going to be shorter, the other side is going to be longer. That's what we want. The longer side will go on the back of our pocket. So add some double stick tape. I like to use 1/8 inch wide. We're going to add it below the line on the fatter portion, and then above the line on the skinnier portion. And I do like to put it kind of in the middle, keep it on my stitch line or out of my stitch line. Now remove the backing from the wider portion, or our back portion. Take our pocket and match up the top of our pocket to that line that we drew. As you can see, my trim is way longer than it needs to be. That's okay. If you're using a tag, go ahead and add that where you would like, and then remove the paper from that top portion of our trim, and then fold it over the top of the pocket. Okay, you'll notice that the back half is longer here. That's good, that's what we want. That's to ensure that we're gonna catch both sides. So now we're gonna go to the machine, and 1/8 of an inch away from our trim piece, we are going to stitch. I am going to back stitch at the beginning and the end. However, if you want a cleaner look, go ahead and keep your threads long and pull them to the back. All right, go ahead and make sure that you caught both sides of your trim piece. And if you have excess, now we can trim that away. And the last thing that we need to do on the back side, I'm gonna add some double stick tape just so I can place this pocket on our lining piece. If you don't have a double stick tape, and if you're using like woven or something, and you can use pins, you can do that when we get to that step. But we all know that I like my double stick tape. So I'm going to add it to 3 sides. I'm not adding it to the top, because that is where our pocket will be accessible. Now grab our lining piece. Oh, I forgot. We need to fold our slip pocket in half and find the center. So I just fold it in half, and I just make a little mark on my trim using my vinyl marking pen. The lining piece now, measure 1 1/8 inches down from the top. Okay, and again, I'm matching up a point for my center. Now remove the backing of the tape on our pocket and match up the center point with the center point on your ruler that you have lined up. If you're not using tape on this step, you can throw some pins or use some tape, whatever you need. Just make sure that that pocket does not slip. I'm going to remove my mark from the center, and now we're going to stitch around the 3 sides of the pocket at 1/8 of an inch away from that pocket. Make sure that you backstitch well up here, because that's going to be a stress point. All right, now our slip pocket is attached. You can see there's the inside, looks beautiful. Now we can move on with installing the zipper. Okay, now we can take our front panel out of timeout. And that, remember, we had made the marks 3/4 of an inch in here, and we laid our zipper tape down, right side down on the right side of our panel. Now grab your lining piece that does not have the front pocket on it. And again, I have the center marked. Again, I have the center marked, and I'm gonna add some double stick tape, 1/8 inch wide, up to that top edge. We're gonna remove the paper, and then with our lining panel, we're gonna take it right side down on our main front panel, match up the center marks, and press it all the way down. You could also use clips here if you don't have double stick tape. I'm gonna move my zipper pull all the way to the other end. Okay, once we have that all in place, either with double stick tape or clipped, we are going to sew down that edge at 1/4 of an inch seam allowance, backstitch at the beginning and the end, and make sure to move your zipper pull when you come to it. All right, once we have that sewn, I like to just clip off some of the end right there to get rid of some of the bulk for when we put this together. But then we are going to push away our lining, up, and away, and then bring these panels wrong sides together. And I like to clip around the bottom just to make sure everything stays where it needs to before we top stitch. And I'm also going to push out the corner bits here. Make sure to get those flat, and also add a clip up there as well. Now as I'm sewing, I'm going to be kind of pulling on my zipper tape here to make sure it's all the way out. We are going to sew along this whole edge at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I will backstitch at the beginning and the end, and I will be using a 5 stitch length. All right, all top stitched end to end. Now we just need to repeat that same process for our back panel and our lining. Now we have back panel and lining panel, front panel and lining panel underneath. One more thing that we need to do, if you did not do this double D-ring connector like I did, you're gonna need to take your D-ring. We need to attach it now. So what you need to do is whichever side your zipper pull is closing to, which mine would be the left-hand side. So I'm gonna work on this left edge here of just the front panel. So move the lining panel out of the way so we don't get jacked up. So from the top here, measure down 3/4 of an inch and make a mark in the seam allowance, just a small mark. And then on your D-ring tab, measure from the D-ring, from this fold here, measure 3/4 of an inch from that fold. It's okay if it doesn't stay taut. Make a mark across that whole tab, 3/4 of an inch from that fold where the D-ring is. Now, take your front panel and your D-ring and put that D-ring up against your D-ring tab, put that up against that mark that we made, and line up that line that we made on the D-ring tab to the edge of your panel. So they should all be nice and lined up. And then throw some clips. Okay, and make sure that your D-ring is pointed in towards the center of your bag. If it's pointed the other way, it's not gonna work. So once you have that clipped on, go ahead and baste that D-ring in place, and then you'll be good. Do not cut this overhang off. Leave that there. It is support. You don't want to lose it. Since I did this double D-ring situation, I'm not going to do that. But if you're just doing the D-ring, go ahead and baste your D-ring in. Okay, now we just need to put it all together, and then we're done. Easy peasy. Okay, so what I like to do is right at these connection points here between the accent and the main, I'm gonna put some 1/8 inch wide double stick tape right on the edge of where those points meet on both sides. This is not in the pattern. I just like to do it so that the front and the back panel accent pieces match up and they don't shift when we're sewing. Okay, open our zipper a little more than halfway, and then take our main exterior pieces and bring them right sides together. Linings then will be right sides together as well. I'm going to clip the bottom center points together. And then I'm going to open it up, and I'm going to take the backing off of that double stick tape that we put down over those connection points, and I'm going to match up where the accents meet. So you can kind of see the accents are lining up. That's what we want. I'm also going to put a clip there. Okay. And then I'm going to flip over to the other side and do the same thing. Take the backing off of that tape and match up our accent pieces. And then clip it. All right, clip around the whole exterior. And then before I clip over here on the sides, I'm gonna clip the lining center points and around the lining. Okay, I've got all around clipped except for these points up here. I'm gonna just match up where the exteriors meet and throw a clip. One side of this is gonna be a lot easier because there's no tab. This side, you're still gonna match it up, but when you match it, just make sure that your zipper tab, if you can see in there, it's pointing down towards the lining. Make sure that it's pointing down towards the lining and not the exterior, because then you're gonna get a dent when you turn it right side out. Okay, throw a clip. And it's okay if it gets dents. I mean, it happens to the best of us. Now, on the bottom of our lining, we need to leave a turning hole. So I like to leave as big a hole as possible. So right as it's coming down off this curve to the straightaway, I'm just gonna make a mark. I don't bother measuring, nothing, I don't care, it's all good. Again, once it comes down off that curve to the straightaway, I'll make another mark. And then I do like to, this is gonna be a 3/8 inch seam allowance down here, so I'm gonna draw a little T and And same on this side. And that will just help when I start. I'm gonna start off of here and then go up, just so I know where the turning point is. Okay, so we're gonna start at one of these points. I'm gonna come onto my fabric, 3/8 of an inch, go around the curve here. Make sure that this is pressed down when you get to your zipper tab. Go slow there. Your needle should not hit that tab. So 3/8 of an inch up around, and then we're gonna taper down to 1/4 of an inch once we get to that point where the exterior and lining meet. Continue around at 1/4 of an inch on the exterior. Get to that connection point, still at 1/4 of an inch, and then we're gonna taper back up to our 3/8 inch seam allowance, come down here and go off and backstitch well. Make sure that your D-ring tabs or your D-rings are facing the inside of your bag. It will scare the bejesus out of you if your needle hits a D-ring. And like I said before, make sure when you're on the zipper tab portion that you don't hit that zipper tab. You don't want the zipper tab joining in the stitch party. Now that we've stitched all the way around, I did go back and do a second row of stitching around just the exterior portion. Since I am using vinyl, I went just like 1/8 of an inch into the seam allowance or closer to the edge. That'll help so that stitches don't pull. And it's also a good time if you have any wonky bits to kind of smooth out around the curves. So now I'm gonna go up to where that joining point is from the exterior and interior. And I'm just gonna trim down that bit, just a little half moon. I'm gonna do that on both sides. It'll just help when we go to push out those corners. And then I'm gonna take my pinking shears, and around the curves, I'm going to trim some. If you don't have pinking shears, just use your scissors and make some snips all around the curve, not cutting your stitches. And then same on the lining. Make sure do not trim that open section, the section that we didn't stitch. And I'm gonna take this up since it's a bigger seam allowance on our lining. All right. Now what we have to do is we have to reach in through our lining, through that hole that we left. Make sure that your zipper inside is all the way pushed open so you can get into there. And we need to flip this right side out. I'm actually going to use a hair dryer. I'm going to take my hair dryer and I'm just going to stick it inside like this. Blast it with some heat. That'll soften up the vinyl. If you used vinyl, if you're using quill cotton, you're probably golden, or even a nylon, you'll be fine. But vinyl, I'm gonna stick the hair dryer in there, give it a couple of seconds, and then I will push these corners out first, up like that, both sides, and then very gently pull the exterior through this opening. Once we got it most of the way turned out, I'm going to take my turning tool and just stick it down in there and run it along these curves, just very gently pushing. You don't want to stress out the corners. This side where your zippers were 90-degree off, that's going to be good. You don't need to worry about that. It's the other tab portion. Stick your hand into the lining and just push up where that tab is. Push that out. Pull our lining back out and make sure that these curves are nice and pushed out as well. And then we need to close this hole. So just kind of tug on both ends like that, and that should make these go in, make the open sections go in. You could hand stitch this closed, but who's got time for that? So I'm just going to add some clips. All right, I like to sew this shut with the pocket side up, just so I can make sure that I'm not hitting it. You shouldn't, but right where that opening is, you're going to sew at 1/8 of an inch away. I do back stitch at the beginning and the end. You could also throw another fun tag in there if you'd like. I know we all love our woven labels. Go ahead and push your lining back inside. Really make sure to get your hands in there and push those corners into where they need to be. And there we go. Look at how beautiful. It's chic, but touch wild. I love it. And since we did this before, we can clip on our wristlet strap. So she's so pretty. You're gonna love this wristlet. Do we understand why now it's called My Favorite Wristlet? Because it's just perfection. It is the perfect size. This was the exact size bag that I was looking for our trip to Vegas, for exploring the town. Just something small, enough for me to put the necessary things into and not have to worry about anything. This is it. Obviously this wasn't out then, and I went with another Joleelee Creations pattern. Last minute Leslie scaled that sucker down. It was beautiful. But I'm gonna make one of these for sure. I have so many more planned. These are gonna fly at your booth and market. Go make that money. I hope you had so much fun sewing this with me today. Go grab the templates, go grab the pattern, go grab the hardware. You're gonna love it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and friends, I'll see you in the next one.